Hello guys, long time no see. So this video I'm going to make a kind of like a space robot. So it's kind of like this. It's a very simple style. So what you can achieve is, let me put in a command. So now you are writing this kind of like how to say it. So this is the simplest maybe. So you can just free roaming in the whole space, just like you use noclip command. But this is actually a unit, just like a tank. But you just can move like a noclip player, and you can add a lot of advanced functions. You can make the model looks like kind of like a robot or whatever. So let's try the third person. Yeah, so it is kind of like this. I don't know how to accurately define these things, but this is actually very cool. So how to make these things? So this is basically like this, all of these things. But I just make a very quick one without, let's say, without this bullet, without a gun, and without this third person camera, and without the left, right, backward moving. So it's just one direction. So one thing you need is you need this one, physics override as a base. Why you can only use this one instead to draw a brush and make it to be a physical box? Because let's try to draw a physical box. Let's say like this one. Where is that? Okay, it's here. And Control T to make it the physical box. So name it like, let's say, the TR2, and make it material, it doesn't matter. So this thing serves as the substitute of this watermelon. But why this physics box is a bit different is it actually lacks a very important property. It's called the scale factor of the inertia, which is here, scale factor for inertia. So this thing is, if we make it extremely large, it will not spin, not rotate, not pitch. So this is exactly what I want. I want to make the base of the uncontrollable, unrideable robot stable. So I don't want this physics box just spin, shake violently. But this physics box, there is no this property. So it's no good. So delete it. So I just add, let's say, prop physics, and always use the override. Then water model, you can actually custom made one, but this watermelon works okay, and it is and the name, let's say TR2. Okay, then we just the mass scale, the scale factor for inertia, we just put it very big, maybe 1 million, and here just keep 0 so far. And the mass scale, I prefer to put it a bit smaller. Otherwise, so the momentum will be too big. So if you push one direction, you want to change the moving orientation, it will just keep going. So yeah, so far so good. Then another thing you need to make is you need to, let's say, create a point underscore Tesla, or you can use point underscore maybe laser, whatever you like. The laser entity is a bit smaller, so it looks better, but Tesla seems just makes more regulated. Okay, so you need to make sure this one, the center, like this red X, should be like usually collide with the top of the physics box a tiny bit, like this, not this, like this. It will works best. I don't know why, but it works best. So name it, let's say like tr2 underscore standard, and the parent is this one. Okay. So another thing you need to make is measurement. It's called logical measure movement. And put one. So this one movement scale always use like a super big number. So A0. This is very tricky. You need to make this big. Otherwise, the location, the position sometimes will be a tiny bit off the center. So movement reference is certain this one. Entity to measure this one, measure reference also this one, and the entity to move, let's say the player, we just name it to play tr2 underscore player, but certainly there is no this entity yet, no problem. tr2 underscore maybe MEA measurement. Okay, that's it. Then another thing is we need to create a template. It's point underscore template. So we need to spawn this measurement. Okay, the name is also add a temp at the end. So what we want to achieve is once the player triggered to use this rideable watermelon, the player can at least get teleported on top of the watermelon first, then get parented on the watermelon, and then this one can be actually killed for good. So now we need to add a kind of like a orientation rod. It's like a barrel. So we can make something like maybe if you are right-handed, make a rod like this. Yeah. And usually you can make it func underscore breakable because it can be broken. So like if you want to also make it a gun, you give it some function, so you want it to be broken by certain damage. And you can also make it anything like the func underscore door, or even to make it pass through the wall. Anyway, strings, maybe I just put 100. Anything works. And the name I name it like tr underscore barrel. Okay, and then we need to manipulate the center of this rod. So this is center. I just put it. Let's see. Yeah, put it around here. So now it's a bit different. Why it orange? It like this way. Okay. Oh, I see. offset need to be moved a tiny bit. Maybe here. Yeah, this is better. So the trick is the height of this rod to the melon is not that important. I prefer it to be a tiny bit lower, but the center needs to be like the 64 units up from the TR2 underscore stand. So 64 units is like here. Okay, so it should be here. Yes, just move everything a tiny bit on the grid. Okay, so then we need to actually create another point underscore Tesla. We just copy paste it to maybe here. Not maybe, it needed to be here. So 64 units, double check. Yeah, it's 64. So the 64 is height to the feet of the player model. So this one we just name it to be barrel point. And the parent is also the same thing, TR2, which is a watermelon base. And this one we also set a parent. We can also set a parent to the watermelon. It will be the most stable. And another thing is we need to make another measurement. So this measurement is to kind of like move or orient the barrel related to the player model's orientation. So this one we just firstly movement scale, make it like 100 million. This is the sweet spot, and eye position, not position. Never use position. Name is just TR2 called barrel measure, and entity to measure it should be TR2 underscore player, and the measure reference we just choose this point. Movement reference also this point, and the entity to move is this barrel. Then we need to, let's see, no, this TR2 underscore measure, we do better to change the name to like a standard measure. Yeah, and then this template, we need to add these two measures together, and these things name actually traditionally I usually name it like barrel temp. Okay, so now we need to add a user interface. It's called a game underscore UI. I put it let's see, maybe here. Then what we want to do is we name it to be like this. Output add if player on. So this template need to force spawn, but it need to be force spawn maybe a tiny bit later. Then we need to name the player to be the TR2 underscore player. So we add a player on. The player is actually the activator who activated to use this user interface, and we just add output. Then we change its name. It's called target name. TR2 underscore TR2 underscore player. and then we copy paste. We need also let this player to get parented on the base, which is tr2. And if the player jump off, but so far, in order to make the video short, we just neglect the jump off function. So it is kind of like once you get on this watermelon, you won't get off. Because it is easy to do, you can refer to my previous videos like those how to make a tank, how to make a helicopter, a lot of them. Then the next thing is we go to the user interface again. The freeze player, we need to keep it. Hide the weapon, it depends. Yeah, so no need to hide. Use this, yeah, just uncheck. So another thing is, let's see. Yeah, we need to add after player on. We need to kill this standard measurement, because once the player get teleported to the watermelon and get parented, no need to use this movement kind of like a movement binding. It will lag the game. Kill it like maybe this delay. So now it should work. Then we need to add a force. It's called a thrust. The force is we need to make it floating at some sort. Let's say the gravity is 800, we just put 780. And the pitch low, we need to keep it up. And start on. Apply force, but no need to apply the torque. No need to orient locally. And we need to check the ignore mass. So attach object, this watermelon, name no need. Then the most exciting part is we just copy this force and we create a moving forward force. We just name it like tr2 underscore forward. The force we just make it big, like 2400. Time of force maybe 0.06 maybe. Flag is apply force, and start on orient locally. Yeah. So maybe no need, we just keep this unchecked. Then we need to create a new template. So this template will just spawn this force, and the name is just called temp. And then we need to create a maker. So this maker will point to the template we just created. It's called this one, and the name is, we copy the name and change the TMP to maker. And the post spawn direction variance is useless because it's a force. It is not like some projectile. No need. But this is very important. You need to inherit the angles instead of the word orientation. And parent, we need to parent it to this barrel. Okay, then we put it maybe put at the end of the barrel like this. It looks nicer. It doesn't matter, no matter where you put. the orientation will be the same. Then we need to add a user interface. It's called when we press the forward. So this one will force spawn. So once we press forward, so this thing will spawn a force. This force orientation will based on this barrel's orientation, which is the player's looking direction, but the force will push the watermelon instead of something else. But the time of force is just 0.06, so we need to make it continuously to spawn the force. So the thing is, every time we just spawn this force, we need to remove it later. On entity spawned, we just kill it. So at the delay, like let's say this one, it's a tiny bit longer than the force duration. And then, in order to continuously spawn, so we create a timer and set the timer's interval like 0.1, a tiny bit longer, 0.1. The name is let's say forward timer. Start disabled, yeah, it should be start disabled. And the output added. On timer, this one need to spawn, force spawn. And then we just add some new functions. Add a press forward. So this timer will also kind of like enable. So once you press forward, there will be two commands. One is instantly spawn a force. Then the timer will also enable, but the timer, it will not spawn the force. It will after 0.1 second it will spawn one. Then it will spawn another one after 0.2. So, but once you just unpress forward, it needed to stop the timer. But if you spamming just tapping the press forward, which is W in the keyboard, you can actually just make the moving very fast. But the problem is it is impossible for most of people to type in, let's say, 10 times per second. So don't worry, even if you do, it won't just break the game. Because the force spawned, it will get removed. On press forward, the timer just disable. Okay. So now let's just try it. I think that's it.
Let's go, my brothers.
Okay, so this is a newly added one. So the function is uint underscore fly, then tr2 underscore ui activate. Okay, I think I successfully teleported onto this watermelon. So now I'm going to control it. Yeah, but the direction is a bit off the track because I forgot to put the forward, the change the PCR low, because I copy pasted it shall be 0, 0, 0. Okay, Let's just try it again. But this is also cool. So if we point downward, it will move forward. If we point, let's say forward, it will move upward. But you cannot move down. But anyway, it just worked. So let's try it again. Now it worked perfectly. Let's try third person. So I think after viewing this video, you can also make such a thing, and you can add a lot of more complicated functions. Let's see if we can trigger this. Then let's just try to enter another map to try something fun. So just I tried to make the already made one into a tank map. So let's add more port first. Looks very cool.
Someone must recover the bomb. This is not good. I need help here. Oh, no. I'm under fire. I
seems so bad. I need to save the world to try to clear all the city. What is too deep? It explode radius set too low. can also run on the floor. It feels even faster. It feels strange. Okay, I think so far so good. Thank you for watching.